Okay, 6 o'clock, I'll start the meeting, but, I ask that you please raise your hands to be recognized to speak, so I can keep some control. All right, stand for the pledge. Jen, would you read the pledge, please?
Which stands one nation under indivisible liberty for all.
So get up and speak, please give your name, make it loud and clear. Tammy has to hear it. The first thing we got is a, public hearing. So I'll open that hearing. I'll read the notice. On Wednesday, December 9th, 2020, the Milton School Board will be holding a public hearing to expend funds up to $250,000 if needed from the Education of the Special Needs Children 2011 Expendable Trust Fund for the purpose of paying for unanticipated expenses in special education. The hearing will be held in the cafeteria at New Middle High School and Library, commencing at 6 p.m. Okay, I open the hearing and I make the motion that we expend up to $250,000 if needed from the Education of the Special Needs Children 2011 Expendable Trust Fund for the purpose of paying for unanticipated special educational expenses. Paul, thank you. Do I have any discussion?
Just have one thing, Doug.
What's that?
Just have one thing.
Go ahead.
So this is why I know the past couple of times when we do the warrant article hearings, they say, well, you already have 200 and something thousand in there. Why do you keep asking for more money if you have so much money? This is why. This was an unforeseen. We may end up having to spend up to $250,000. Luckily, we have it in that fund, so we don't have to tap into our other funds to take care of that. So when we do our warrant article hearings again, we're going to be putting in, probably asking for another 50 to go back in there this coming year. So now you know why.
The amount that we have left in the fund is $16,000, so that's all we have left. So if we have any children with needs, we're gonna have to find the money somewhere, okay? Anybody else on the board? Anybody in the audience, any comments?
Peg?
Yes? Go ahead.
Okay. I looked at the expense report, and it's not that I don't feel as though we should take money if absolutely needed. But we still have 739,000 left. And I guess maybe I would like to wait a little bit longer before we take money out. And I understand what Paul said about, you know, a warrant article. And I'm sure as we get closer towards the end of the year, most likely we will have to dip into it. But at this point, I would like to wait.
Reason if needed was put on here. If we don't need it, we won't take it. If we need it, we'll take it. That's what that means, okay?
Okay. So a further question.
Go ahead.
So would we be voting on just if we need it, we will take it, but we're not voting on taking the whole 250,000 tonight? Is that it?
I said if needed. Yep. If needed.
Okay.
If we get
all
right. We take this money out later after the warrant, after the end of the year, and we don't need it. But if we do need it, we're going to have to put money back in it. And if we take out 250, we're going to put more than 250. We're going to put 250 back into the fund if we have an excess surplus. That's the decision we're going to have to make when we do the warrant articles tonight. Anybody else? Okay, I move the question. I vote we take the 250 out if needed. Aye.
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 Peg?
Aye.
Okay, done. I close the meeting at, hearing at 6:04. Thank you, everybody. Now, personally, I don't have a problem when we're discussing stuff that people in the audience speak, but I ask that you be courteous And, normally you just, the comments you begin at the end, but the board doesn't have, I don't think they have a problem with it either, so I don't mind. Do you have questions to ask? Okay. Because it's your money, we're spending. Okay, first thing we'll come to is 11/11/20, the remote public hearing meeting minutes.
I will make a motion to approve the 11/11 remote budget workshop minutes with a couple of corrections.
Do you have those corrections, Pat?
Yes, on the first page, under proposed budget, Jan's line should be changed from 5,988 to 4,988. And further down under special ed, what am I saying? Oh, we are working on the default of 2,962,848 for special ed. And this year it went up, and that's why it went up basically because we've been working on the default. So it's just kind of confusing wording right there.
Anything else, Pat?
Nope, that was it.
Anybody else? I need a second.
Second.
Paul, thank you. Terry? Aye.
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 Ted?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, Wednesday, November 18th, remote, non-public meeting minutes.
You want the non-public first? I'll make a motion to approve the non-public of November 18th with one correction. And that was, I do not believe Nate stayed for the non-public.
You- Cross Nate out?
Yes,
Rub them out, okay.
cross them out.
Yeah, I got
Sorry,
you.
Nate.
Anybody else? Aye.
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, Wednesday, November 11th, 2020, remote budget work session minutes.
I thought that's what we just did. No,
No.
wait a minute, we've already done that.
The 18th?
18th.
The 18th, okay, it was just a public
Eleven.
meeting. I'll make a
Alright.
motion to approve the Wednesday, November 18th minute meetings with a couple of corrections. There were a couple of very minor grammatical ones, and then what I had was on page 4. There were comments under gym use proposal, and it was said staff was limited to 25, but it was just total people in the gym was limited to 25, so I removed the 25 or staff there, and then under Melissa, when she motioned to accept the second proposal.
Okay, what page you on?
The bottom of page 4, the gym
Well-
use,
Well, you on November 11th, because all the page numbers I see,
November 18th. We've already done the 11th, I thought. I just gave you instructions on the 11th.
what's that?
The minutes were out of order in the packet, that's why.
Right, so we already approved the 11th, we're on the
Well, no, I
Right.
read the 18th when I read it.
18th public.
Right.
I read the 18th myself
We approved
originally.
the 11th.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, well, I'm on the 18th.
All right.
Page 4 at the bottom.
Right.
So we read the Wednesday, November 18th first, public meeting, hearing minutes.
Well, we did the, what did we do first? We did, I don't know, they're here somewhere. I don't know what I did with them. We haven't done the 18th non-public yet. Oh, yeah, we did that one, yep.
The 18th public is December 1st, remote public hearing. That's required.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are left, right?
What do you got left, Pat?
I have the 18th with those two corrections, and then the December 1st special meeting.
We haven't got to that one. Pat.
No, I'm still on the 18th, public.
That's what Peg was making the correction on the bottom of page 14,
I
public.
read them first.
No. Well, we tried to do them in date order.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, aye.
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 Peg?
Aye.
Peg? So what are we on now, Peg?
December 1st.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the December 1st meeting minutes with one minor grammatical correction.
Second.
Okay, anybody else? Aye.
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 Peg?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, is there a Jessica Woods here?
Yes,
Where are you?
I'm right over here. I'm tucked off in the corner.
Can you come over here and
Absolutely.
I can see you? So if you ever come see me again, I know who you are.
Is it my turn?
Here we are.
Oh, perfect.
Earl asked me to put you on.
Okay, perfect. It's been a long time since I've been in front of mine. So good evening, and thank you all for letting me have a chance to speak in front of you tonight. I am here to discuss making my child care facility an approved daycare center for the schools, for the children of the schools of Milton and Milton Mills. My name is Jessica Wood, and I am the owner and director of the Wildwood Daycare located on Main Street in Milton Mills. We've been operating since February of 2018. We started with a few families from both Milton and Milton Mills, but as word got out, we've grown a considerable waiting list. We currently also service families from Wakefield, Rochester, and Somersworth. During the beginning of the COVID pandemic, we received our safe certification as an in-home family daycare facility. On top of that, we also became an emergency child care facility, as well as being able to care for children in a child protective status. Over the past 15 years, I have worked in various child-related jobs, such as a nanny, a special education teacher, an after-school teacher in various grades, a paraprofessional with both behavioral children and children in the life skills program. During these years, the one thing that I have found that I strongly believe in is making sure each child has what they need to be successful. When I was informed that the school would not be picking my children up at the daycare because there was only one approved daycare facility for our town, Milton and Milton Mills, I knew what I had to do to make sure that our school-aged children continue to be successful. My parents were floored when I purchased a 12-passenger van so I would be able to transport their children to and from school. Because as working parents, most of our jobs wouldn't let us have the opportunity of leaving at least 2 times a day to drop their child off and pick them up. Not to mention, most of my families don't work in Milton or in Milton Mills. In fact, most of them have at least a 30-minute commute to work. I currently transport children 3 to 4 days a week, depending on the week, which isn't a problem at all. But what does concern me is the fact that there is only one approved child care facility for both of our towns. Some of my families, actually, most of my families, do have more than one child, with one child being under the age of 3. But the only approved daycare setting for our school children, they don't allow children under the age of 3, and they have to be potty trained. So, with that being said, for my families, our parents would have to be using 2 different facilities to care for their children, which puts an unnecessary strain on these families. In an effort to alleviate the strain on my families, I would like to become an approved child care center for both of our communities. If I cannot be given an approved status tonight, I would appreciate to know what I need to do to receive this status.
I'd like to know what you need to be approved, because
Yeah.
And the only reason why I'm bringing it up is because I was informed by a teacher at the school that there's only one accepted childcare facility in the town that provides transportation to the children of Milton and Milton Mills. So this could be one of those subjects where one person believes one thing, but it's not really, so I'm just here to figure everything out.
Earl,
Yes,
can you
So-
address this?
when we will review this and get the info that we need. Does that make sense, Jess?
Yes, that does.
Just to clarify, what you're looking for and what you need is the approval so that transportation, that you count for transportation. You're already licensed and approved by the state, so it has nothing to do with the schools in that regard. You just need bus, public transportation to pick up kids, drop them at school, and drop them back to you in the afternoon,
Yes.
making sure we're on the same page.
Peg?
I just have a question, Jess. Since you are in Milton Mills, are the students all from Milton Mills? I'm just thinking of the different cohorts.
So since I am in Milton Mills, the children that I am sending, via my van are in the Milton cohort. So that was the reason why I was informed that I had to provide, well, technically, my parents were informed they had to provide transportation for their children, which I'm up here to bat for my parents. And like I said, most parents, they drive at least a half hour. I know one parent has an hour commute, so I can't expect my parents to keep a job and be able to transport their child to and from the school, even though they have been in my care for almost 3 years.
Okay.
Anybody else?
So Doug,
Peg?
just to follow up, so I'm not sure, Jess, I'm assuming from what you just said that you have students who are in both cohorts, Monday and Wednesday and Tuesday and Thursday?
They're actually the only school-age children I have are in the Milton cohort. So they
Which
come-
one though? Which one? I'm just thinking of transportation so that we can make a judgment call here. So would it be picking up students every single day because some of them are in the Monday, Wednesday cohort and others are in the Tuesday, Thursday?
No, I only have children on the Monday and Wednesday cohort, and I already have, transportation being provided to one of my preschool age children 4 days a week. So I already have transportation coming to and from my house every day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Get back to you.
Thank you.
Wait, hold a sec. So succinctly then, what specifically could you write out, Jess, to the school board? Some of you have talked about it, specifically what you are asking for so they can review it. And then Tim, who's in charge of the buses, everyone can take a look at it. So, tonight you spoke, so now there is an awareness on the part of the board on what the request is. But if you could succinctly state what the request is, then they can move forth and make a decision. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ask like another clarifying question. So what I'm hearing is that currently you have transportation under control, but what you're looking for is sort of future planning, like at some point we need to be working towards
Yes.
getting, because you may not always be able to transport, because depending on the number of kids, or, you know what I mean? That's sort of the first steps are figuring out what our policies are for sort of saying, adding you to the bus route, and then we can troubleshoot for cohorts. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Because we have, I mean, yeah.
I kind of see what Peg was getting at, about just kids coming every day from the same place, going to the different cohorts and a chance of infection. I get what you're saying, but, I mean, we can work that out once we figure out the main part of it.
Go ahead.
We're gonna have that whether we're providing transportation or not. I mean, it's,
And I was gonna
regardless.
say, I can say that in your prior minutes in October, it stated that there was transportation provided for sports. And I don't wanna sound like, excuse my language, an asshole, but I highly doubt that each cohort is able to specifically gather up a team of just Milton Mills children. I love Milton Mills, but I highly doubt we have enough for one specific sports team. And that honestly was kind of part of the reason, that I figured I would come and ask, about how I would go about this, because I personally feel if we can provide transportation for sports, then we should be able to provide transportation for my families who have been in my care for almost 3 years.
All set? All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else on that subject?
Absolutely.
Okay, moving on. Oh,
I just have to for the board, currently, unless it's changed, transportation is provided to the Milton Learning Center. Are they a specific cohort, or do they have a specific cohort as well?
I do not know.
My kid goes there. They have mixed cohorts.
That's part of the reason why I came, was because I know that the Milton Children's Center is the only accepted daycare facility for Milton and Milton.
Okay. Earl, you're up.
Okay, the first thing that the team would like to do is to take a look. We had a large discussion last time, and I think it was Paul Steer that mentioned that we'll take a look at this on the next time we met. And therefore, the administrative team, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the entire report. This is the vacation time upon our return from Christmas vacation. And we're speaking about the proposal to go remote, but yet, as will be explained by the administrative team and the SPED coordinator, Rob Qua, we will be looking and hopeful that students that are having a difficult time in a remote way and students with that have special needs, we would work with them. For example, we had a change on a dime these past days where the board had given permission for us to go up until this day. And then when the administrative team, Jen and Jan and Rob Qua, we took a complete look at it, we had to make a quick decision, and therefore we have gone remote. But at the same time, Jan and Jen and Rob and staff have done a great job bringing in those students and kind of also changed on a dime and really created an apparatus in a mode whereby we could assist those students with that time. It should be noted that during July and August, we have had a consistent prescriptive in-face instruction. And basically through the hybrid, I made several calls and I talked to people, people throughout the state, both as a whole and in groups. And from what I can ascertain, we might be one of the only schools that, since this started through July and August, have provided hybrid or prescriptive in-face instruction. So July and August, there are schools that there was nothing going on. And I was concerned, and Rob and Jen and John all felt that we could work. And Mary Ann Doan has worked with us from the association, and she meets with the administrative team. So what I'm saying is MES has been able to provide in-person instruction, and sped students that Rob Quazzo overseen, and with the staff, we have been able to bring those students in to assist them. Because basically, we know that learning styles are such that students learn, every child learns in certain ways. And we are trying to accommodate all of the students, whether we're remote, hybrid, or at some point showing a model where, if conditions are such, we can look at the third one, which is full in person. So right now, we're going to go through and hold requests, hold them for the end so we can get through this. And when the entire team completes the reason that the recommendation holds firm, even more so for those 2 weeks after vacation to go remote. But as I said, to provide as much instruction as we can, depending upon upon current events that are going on at the time. At this point, what we're going to start with is we received, and everyone there tonight, and we will post it on the net. We're giving you you all, the board and the parents, the community, the most up-to-date information that the staff, the administrative team has gotten. And this includes every Wednesday, the school nurses talk to Dr. Chan, and that, in the guidelines, as you know, they move almost each day like stocks do. So what we're going to do is start out with Dawn and Susan first, and they will speak to the risk factors. Because if you remember, when we began the reopening plan, we specifically spoke to what the risk factors were in terms of each mode. And as we're going, we're taking a look back at planning backwards and looking at where we were and why we devised the plan. And we're very grateful. Sue and Dawn have been extraordinary, as has the whole staff. But they have created a whole new world, and it's been a challenging ride here. And I've deferred many times, and the administrative team and the staff and the parents have had to depend on them, and they've stepped up. This is a 24-hour day, every day of the week. Jan called me on Thanksgiving. I don't think there's been a weekend that the administrative staff has not, and the staff has not been involved in trying to take a look at trying to keep well and trying to keep safe. So with all of the education is so important. And as I said, we want to advance every child. But first and foremostly, as we get through, hopefully, the next 3 months or whatever, in terms of things will be improved. there's a rainbow at the end. But I want us all to live to see that rainbow at the end. So we will begin with Dawn and Sue. Please hold your questions for the end, and we'll go through. Dawn and Sue, you can take it. Okay, are you guys set?
Ready? Hi.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so at MES, we've seen a little more activity this week. We have 6 students and 1 staff member quarantining because of positive exposures outside of school. The quarantine guidelines have changed from 14 days to 10. I was on the public health call today and they did not announce any other changes. Dawn and I have started using the New Hampshire public health models that are based on the level of community transmission and impact on schools. Dawn is going to update you on what's happening at Newt and explain what we are seeing on the local and county level and where that puts us on these models.
Hello, so at Newt, we currently have, I think about 5 staff that are out either quarantining or awaiting test results. And that's in addition to staff that we have currently working remotely. Student-wise, there's only a handful on there, but we have been remote, as you know. So they're the only students that I've spoken to, or parents that I've spoken to, were students who were going to come in today, just for the selected students that were coming in. So that has been less. However, I did, so the paperwork, sorry, I'm gonna look at this paper so I can get the right information. So what Susan was referring to, there's a model that the state provided for schools to use when they're looking at transitioning between models such as hybrid and remote. And the first set of criteria that they look at, and for each set of criteria, so for this first one, if so it's overall community transmission and it's by counties. And so for Stratford County, what they're saying that, so there's 3 different criteria in here, which is the 7-day positivity rate, the number of new infections per 100,000, and the number of new hospitalizations. And they're saying you go by whichever one is the highest. So for Stratford County, the county is labeled as substantial because the number of new cases per 100,000 over the last 14 days is 365.1, and they're saying anything over 100 is substantial. So it's substantial, Stratford County, for community transmission. The second set of criteria, and the same rules apply, whichever one of these criteria is the highest is how you rate it. So it's transmission within the school facility. So even though we have had a few cases, that's considered low because we haven't had any clusters or outbreaks, and a cluster is 3 or more related cases. It goes to student absenteeism as well as staff capacity to conduct classes and school operations. So at least currently at Newt, the staff is strained with the staff that's been out for various reasons. So based on those 2 criteria, so with so that would make the school impact, that would be medium. So with a medium school impact and a substantial community transmission, it's saying that Newt should be remote at this time. And so looking at MES at this time, looks like they are in the clear because they are high with the community spread, but they're having low school impact. So they would be hybrid, which they're doing, but they, as Susan said, are seeing more activity this week. And it's something that we anticipate may also happen after Christmas break. And even now there's still just any exposure that may have happened over Thanksgiving is still kind of being seen in the testing and the numbers. And I think that's it. And one thing they did say is that schools should really look at the situation for 2 to 4 weeks before continuing to relax restrictions as well.
We also looked at the new cases in Milton over the past 14 days, and that has been 19. There's 13 active at the moment.
Thank you very, very much. And we'll take, and I'm sure they'll ask you some things at the end. Thank you so much.
It's the
Now
end,
we're
Earl.
going to go through the schools.
Earl, I have some
Yes.
questions. Didn't we have the,
Okay,
didn't we
go
have
on.
uptick before Thanksgiving?
Pardon
Not
me?
after. Did we not have the uptick before Thanksgiving and not after?
Okay, we're gonna try to do the questions at the end, but Dawn and Sue, did you want to respond to that?
So I mean, at New, we did have a number of students and staff who needed to quarantine for a case that occurred right before Thanksgiving. But we have seen, as Susan had said, just more activity with parents now saying that they have been exposed in outside or they've been exposed with family members and things like that, and staff, you know, that are also out for the same reason. So it's continuing. We're continuing to see activity.
Right. This week, I have had 4 parents call me with, you know, saying that they've had exposure to somebody positive. So that's new for us. We've been pretty quiet, except for this week. And then we had a staff member that also had an exposure. So we don't have any positives, but we're starting to see some students, and we have one staff member now that has been exposed to a positive case, and they have to quarantine. So, you know, they have to be out for those 10 days.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, thank you. John and Jan and Jen, we could go through the schools now. One of the things that we'll stress, and this will be the case in each of the departments, and we all are fully aware of this. It's not only a concern at our school, but in area schools and statewide and throughout the nation, is trying to staff in each of the areas. And we're going to specifically look at the staffing issues, not only in terms of anything dealing with vacation or whatever itself, but the staff that we foresee us having when we return after the first of the year. So we'll begin with John. Can you begin with the MES?
So our rationale for asking to go remote for the first 2 weeks, we come back after the holiday break, like I said, is to be more proactive rather than reactive. We are, presently, we are in the middle of a surge nationwide and locally. And it is, everybody's saying we're basically on the incline of the surge. And after the holiday break, that's where it's gonna peak and it's gonna get worse. So as a result, we are looking at a strain on our staff. We are looking at right now that 16 staff members that will need to be remote the first 2 weeks at least of January. Now, 2 of those are for vacations. 2 of those are possibly family travel, for other reasons beside vacation. So that's just 4, but 5 are already out as remote teachers presently, so they would continue. 4 would be going out for medical reasons. 1 is because of the heightened risk. They're already at high risk, but they have been able to be in school, but they probably will need to go out because the cases are getting worse. 3 would be already, whether we had COVID or not, be going out for medical reasons in January at different times, but because of the risk of infection, they have to be out to prevent any infection to interfere with any medical procedures or anything like that. We have 3 other staff members that have expressed concern and requested to go remote because of family members in their household that are at high risk. So that is at 16. So we're already pretty strained. Which then add on top of that, any illnesses or possible exposures, even however it may be. And being so that would be in addition to the 16 that would already be out. And the reason also to be proactive is to let the parents know ahead of time that we would be remote. It would be more consistent. The students would be prepared for it. I looked it back in an average, over the past 5 years, we've had an average of 3 snow days in the first 2 weeks of January. And a lot of those days, the next day, we have a 2-hour delay to finish the cleanup, depending on the size of the storm. So considering all those interruptions as well and the strain on the staff, that's why we're requesting to go remote for the first 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you, John. Jan?
So as you know, COVID's caused some stress and anxiety in our students, our parents, and us. And the requirement for those in the building doesn't have stress every day. So similar to how people in a hospital or in a store or a restaurant, any place with a lot of people, there's some level of anxiety as we try and follow procedures. Even on hybrid, we have about 150 people at noon during the day. And so you're just constantly trying to be vigilant to make sure everybody's following their procedures. Usually we can see our families and friends relieve some of that anxiety. But right now we're not seeing our families and friends trying to keep everybody safe. As the nurses said, the spread is still increasing in our local community and county, and we do anticipate it's going to continue after the break. And as you've seen over the last week, just one positive case can have a dramatic effect. So, the other thing is any students or staff that have cold symptoms, flu symptoms, even if it's not COVID, they have to go home for 10 days or until they have a negative test. And right now it's taking 2 to 3 days just to schedule a test, and then still 3 to 5 days to get the results back. So it's almost to 10 days, even if they do get the test. So people who had to be tested this week, one took 2 days, one took 3 days just to be able to get the test. But anyone with a cold has to follow that protocol. And as you know, time of year, when you start having sniffles in our cold. We are trying to be aware of the social relation needs for our students, but also our staff as well. This past 2 weeks, again, it showed the uncertainty that this can create. We'd like to be able to plan for this remote time. Teachers will be able to fully plan their instruction to be remote. Parents will be able to plan for their students to be at home. And just the anxiety among parents as well. On November 10th, when I reported out to you, we had 63 students remote, and as of today, we're up to 76. Again, that's due to parents' own anxiety about what's going on. So we want to just kind of take that remote break after our winter break. And we still will be able to pre-plan instruction. I've already looked at the schedule. We want kids to be in every morning in their advisory period, whether they're purple or gold, so that they're up out of bed, checking in with their teachers, here's what we're working on today, and then they'll check into their classes with their cohort. So purple will still check in with their purple classes, gold with their gold classes, but all students will start today checking into their advisory period so that they're up and they're at school, not just home for 2 weeks. That's why we're, again, requesting this 2 weeks.
Really not gonna like this, but I have a question. Okay, John and Jan, that period in January, what dates do you want?
We were talking that the 4th is the first day back after the vacation, so the 4th through the 18th, where the 18th is Columbus,
Martin Luther King
Day, which is that Monday. So basically, we would go from that, the 4th, to that Friday before, and come back the Tuesday after the holiday.
You agreement with that, Jan?
I'm sorry, what?
I was asking Jan if she's happy with that time frame.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna make a motion that we go remote from January 4th to January 18th, after the holidays.
I'll second that. Peg?
Okay, do I have any discussion from the board? Anybody in the audience? The what? Yes, I have to comment about something coming in the building here. I came in and checked my temperature, but I had people going into the auditorium for sports that did not take their temperature. okay? Even though there was a sign out there. So we have got to follow protocol. And I wear my mask. They gotta fill out them slips. That didn't even happen. The reason I know they didn't, because I was in front of them taking my temperature. They walked right by me and went in. Go ahead.
I know during volleyball season, when the kids got into the gym, it was the coach's responsibility, and the coach had them all there. So I don't know if the gym, the coach to make sure that happens.
Wasn't a kid. An adult.
It's just throwing it out there that it might have been in there, because I know volleyball coach.
Go ahead.
So, all of the students screen at home, so as part of the affidavit they've already signed, they pre-screen at home, they should be taking their temperature whenever they walk.
They still have to make the form out?
No.
How do you track it?
The coach takes attendance, but they don't have to have that tracking form because that's screening the symptoms, and they do that at home.
Okay,
But yes, there is attendance, and they should be taking it.
I'll make sure.
And
Go ahead.
sometimes parents are going in and out. I do it when I drop my kids. I take my temperature once. I don't take it 4 times within 2 hours.
Well,
So that might be why you see that too.
no, this was, they parked next to me and came in. They're dropping them off.
Just gonna hand over there.
I have a quick question, about the remote learning. If, let's say, 3 days before we're supposed to go back, and there's still an uptick, are we just planning on going full remote or staying out for another 2 weeks on top of that?
What's your dates again, please?
So like, if it was, let's say January 14th, and we noticed that there's a considerable uptick where more of our staff is noticing that they're having the symptoms, that more of our families are having the symptoms, would you be more likely to just to extend it another 2 weeks?
No.
Or even just a month? I'm a planner, that's all, sorry.
Go ahead.
There's no way that we can sit here and plan, we're gonna take a month off, we're gonna automatically take 2 weeks off. We have to start planning for having our students come back. If there's an uptick, then we would have to have an emergency meeting and discuss it. But to say, oh, if there happens to be an uptick, we're gonna take off the whole month, we can't do that. We really have to start pushing to get our students back in the building.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've already practiced it once last week, when we chose to go remote for the last 2 days of the week.
Yeah,
So if it comes up, we'll call an emergency meeting, we'll have the answer that night.
okay.
Play it day by day by day, like we've been going the whole year, so.
I just want to clarify again though, even the choice to go remote, it wasn't because our school is flooded with COVID, it's because we had staffing issues because of testing of COVID. I think we also need to be very clear that upticks and surges, and that we're not full of COVID. We are not. Our protocols are working. And we do need to get our kids back to school. And we need to solve the staffing problems. I totally hear you. We need to solve the staffing problems.
I got
To
it.
me, that's the issue. Staffing.
John?
Sorry.
I agree with Emily. We do want to be in the school. We are not. I hate to keep saying, yes, we haven't had any issues. It's almost like it's opening night. I keep saying good luck instead of break a leg, and I don't want to keep saying that, but our protocols have been working. We are very happy with what's going on. As far as, yes, there's been some strains. The situation at Newt is a test of the good protocols in place because it wasn't an outbreak. It was happened to be a positive case. Our protocols in place, we have been keeping them, keeping the kids safe, keeping the staff safe. And that's what this is about. It's not just, this is about the protocols, about the staffing, about the fact that there is an uptick and we are concerned about staffing and a spread or an outbreak in the school.
I think our buildings went way above and beyond what we needed to do. We took the money, we spent it wisely. We could have done any more than put an air handler in it, MES, we put air cleaners in the rooms.
I think the question we keep coming back to though is how do we solve the staffing problem? Because
Yeah.
the testing is always going to be an issue.
On that note, I wanted to bring forward an idea that I had about getting some part-time permanent substitutes. Because not everybody can commit to a 5-day-a-week schedule. Not everybody can wait and say, oh, are they gonna call me today or tomorrow? We always have a need for somebody in the building. If we have extra staff, which I can't see happening right now, but if we had extra staff, we can use them. So my idea was to possibly hire part-time, offering to hire part-time permanent staff for the rest of the school year.
And that was posted this week.
Thank you.
Doug?
Yes.
Doug, in answering that, we already did, that's a great point. We've already done it this week. Part-time permanent subs. We posted that with the 115. Hopefully, the law of supply and demand. Hopefully, we could attract some folks. And tonight, we have one person, and we sent one more for Newt, and thanks for the board's support on that, because whatever we could do in terms of trying to increase staff, so that we do have your support on that for part-time permanent subs. Am I correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good, thank you.
Let me go to Emily, and then I'll go to John Sapina. Emily?
Okay. So I know, sort of choosing, we've talked about, one of the issues is we post these things and nobody responds, but Danielle Marie made a good point last meeting. If people don't have childcare, they can't take a job, and, and so I think it maybe an important question is, if we are back in school full-time, are there people that would be willing and able to be hired to be long-term subs or part-time, yes, I can do these days. I also think we may need to revisit the policy that we don't want subs that you call in, that we only want permanent subs because of transmission. Well, we have protocols in place, we have testing, we have rules about exposure and quarantining and masks and partitions. So perhaps we should revisit that, to say, no, we're not gonna do it that way. We're not gonna just have a list of, a sub list. I think we need to aggressively revisit the staffing.
John?
First of all, I agree with Melissa. Definitely, part-time is a good option. Last year, Christy and I were looking at the need to cover paraprofessional hours for students during the day, and we were looking at that. There were like lots of splits here and there, so we started offering part-time to people, and we were able to cover. We ended up hiring, I think, about 3 or 4 part-time people to cover the hours. So it was very successful. We do have that posted. The unfortunate thing is not just about not wanting to call people on the sub list. We don't have anybody on the sub list. Anybody that has come in to say they want to be on the sub list, we have made them permanent subs. So we have been posting these positions. I have had the posting for Title I teacher posted since the summer, and I haven't gotten any applications for that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor.
I have a comment,
Peg?
Doug. Yeah, one of the things, I agree with what Melissa was saying about, parents, and then the concern that parents don't have daycare. But if my child were in the Monday and Wednesday cohort, then I could sub on Monday and Wednesday and be a permanent Monday, Wednesday cohort sub, Tuesday, Thursday, so that they would be in school, as long as all of their children were school age, then they could be in school with their children and being a part-time permanent sub on those days. Just another thought.
Going back with what Peg said, that's my exact words, Jan, that I talked to Jan and Jen about that. Let's look at, with the hybrid, if their kids are gonna come in those days, perhaps they will come in those days. There's some of the same people that go on trips with the kids or spend time in the classrooms when I go around and I've seen them, and I see them at the events that we do. So some of those same ones perhaps we could get a pool of those. So, Peg, you're correct. That was one of the things we saw with this. Okay, I'm sorry, Doug, you have a thing on the floor.
Well, I got, Al raised his hand.
I just want to, I think, I kind of,
Speak up, Al.
I didn't hear the end of what Peg was saying, but I think she touched on it, that it would be ideal if your kid was in Monday, Wednesday, work Monday, Wednesday, but you have to remember that many of the families in town have more than one kid. That was pointed out. I was listening to another school board meeting, to hear what's going on and whatnot. And all of their suggestions was that, well, if their kid, and one of the things that was pointed out is you have to stop thinking that it's just one kid per family, because there are very, very few families in Milton with just one kid. There are some with about 12, but they're understanding.
Doug, I think going back to what Al said, we tried when we set this up for the same families to make sure they were in the same pod. Correct, Jan and John? Where there's more than one child, don't you have them in the same cohort?
Yes, we do. They're done geographically. The cohorts were done, purple group and the gold group.
Tammy?
I just want to ask if people, if they're talking, if they can go near an intercom or something. I'm trying to do notes, but I can't hear.
Okay, come up to the microphone, please, and give your name.
All right, how you doing? I'm Kristen Miller. I teach in the middle school. So just from an educator's point of view, just to let you guys know what it looks like in our world, is we're just, I'm speaking specifically for the 2 weeks after Christmas break that we would potentially go remote. We're looking for consistency and peace of mind, okay? So the staff peace of mind knowing that everybody's kind of self-quarantining, being safe, staff included. We're not just looking at students and families, students, staff in the same. And also just consistency in scheduling, right? If we knew in advance we have a schedule, kids are going home with a schedule, parents can ask questions before then, they can shoot us emails, how it works. We can get supplies home to the kids that are needed, if it's something for a lab, if it's graphing paper, if it's poster board, we can get that home with the kids beforehand. And they would just have that ability, we could plan better lessons. You know, getting a call from Jan at 7 p.m. at night is really tough as an educator to then put together a lesson that's going to be valid and worthwhile for the kids the next day, right? If we do this in advance and the kids have what they need at home, they know the schedule, they know we're going to be calling, you know, their parents every period they don't show up, I think it's going to prove for better lessons. And maybe that's just me speaking for myself, but I think a lot of educators would agree with that. To know in advance, and just those 2 weeks, we're not looking for a whole lot of time, just that peace of mind, consistency for 2 weeks scheduling, kids know what to expect.
Okay, thank you. So it's from the 4th to the 18th of January. Okay, I move the question. Aye.
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 Okay, 4, 1. Okay, so it's done. Thank you on that issue. Okay, Earl, it's back to you.
Thank you very, very much. The other thing that the board had asked the administrative team and the staff to take a look at, and we had, is what the model would be, what the cost would be, and what would it entail if at some point we were to look at model number 3, when you know, as was said here, when things would subside and things would improve, perhaps a vaccine and so forth. But in that, I believe that Jen spearheaded the worksheet that we worked through. The administrative team, Mary Ann Doan was involved with us, and then we went back to the staff in all of the departments. And in that is a lucid compendium of all the various costs by department that if we were to go to a, would go to a full in-person, what it would be. We already had the beginnings, and it's only the start of discussions of building capacity among the staff. So I think that, I'm sure we'll revisit this next month, because now we have the consistency for parents to know what we're doing after the vacation time. We thank the board for your support on that. And going forth, we wanted to begin to do a comprehensive study and assessment of what it would be. We'll continue to go through the departments and take a look at what the full in-person would be. We've already, I'm going to start in the middle to give Bob and Tim and Rob Qua a chance, but they you know, we had, so with that, now we're gonna change gears, which in these challenging times, I guess it's a way of life. We change gears on a dime now. So in changing those gears, team, we are now looking at what would full in-person be at some point in time if that model number 3 was used. Now, not, I want to ensure that the team gets, yeah.
Earl, so basically what you're saying is you want to come back still on a hybrid, so we're not even talking about in-person school right now, full in-person. That's not even on the table.
Well, that's what we're trying to discuss, of what it would entail. We were told by the board that we were committed to the February 1st, that we would be in the hybrid. We have approved the 2 weeks of remote from January 4th to the 18th. And what we're looking at, what the board asked us to do, was to come back and study what full in person would be, Melissa. And as you yourself just said, it would be dictated on what is going on. I mean, you can't pre-plan, like you said, when somebody had brought that up. You know, what are you going to do after a certain date? You said, well, what, you know, that depends on what is going on at the time. So in order, okay, I'm sorry.
All of us are shaking our head. We did not agree that we were going to wait until February 1st to go back full. So I don't know where that's coming from.
I think I sent a group email saying that after the 2-week full remote in January, that I was pushing to go full in students starting at that point.
Yes.
But I got no replies to my email, but I know everybody read it.
I thought I replied to you. I'm sorry if you didn't get it.
So that's what I think we were talking about doing, obviously depending if, I mean, cases are skyrocketing, but do the full remote for 2 weeks, go maybe hybrid for 1 week, and then back full attendance after that.
Well, our next meeting will be January 13th. No reason that cannot be put on the agenda to be discussed.
Yes.
Correct.
But the discussions, this is what I said in October. I said in October, we were supposed to talk about whether we were going back full-time, and that didn't get discussed. And I said, but we're gonna talk about it in January, and then it's gonna be, we're gonna talk about it in March, and then it's gonna be, well, we might as well stay out till June. At some point, we have to make a decision and move forward, and it may not work, but we already know the fallback. We already know how to do remote and hybrid. But that's why I'm saying, at this point, we know the big problem in front of us that we do know, because there's a lot of problems we don't know. The big problem in front of us we know is staffing. That's what we know.
Thank you. Shan, you want?
So you did ask us to come back December 9th with our plans. That's what we've done. This is the return to full addendum. So not to stay in hybrid, it's the return to full addendum and the things that would be different or the things that would be the same. We tried to highlight from our reopening plan things that would be different and the things that would remain the same. I'm concerned about returning fully back on the 19th of this time, we requested a quarter. The quarter to have everybody back with completely review our schedules and our results. It's huge. So I think we're going to be within February 1st, if that's the start of the new grade.
So to clarify, what we're talking about is going back on February 1st, not talking about going back.
Right. So it would be based on the chart, so the chart that they talked about, that we handed out is also in here. So, everyone's recorded, I'm going to take it. So on page 4, again, we'll be looking at the chart. If the community transmission is still substantial, it recommends hybrid at the most, so depending on what else is going on. So again, we would look at in January, what's going on with the community transmission, local transmission, where we at, you know, staffing and everything else. So we will be using these charts. Hopefully the transmission in Stafford County just below substantial, that we could look at, yes, we could be back in person. This is the plan we put together for returning in person as soon as we are able to, based on conditions.
But you're looking at, if you're looking at the community pie, first of all, they use the word should, not must. So we have the flexibility to come back, even if the community, if Stratford itself has high numbers, doesn't necessarily mean Milton has high numbers. And if our in-school impact is low, I think that's what should be driving us, not what the entire Stratford County, because you can't compare apples to oranges. You can't compare Milton to Rochester.
And that's why.
So I want,
Protocol.
and under the protocols, when they were reading it off, it should, not must. So we should do something, but no, we can do what's best for Milton, what's best for our students.
So we definitely plan on adjusting that on the back of the holiday break, and that's where we'll be on the 19th.
Okay, do you want Jen to go through the chart of course so we could discuss it?
Wait a minute, Peg's got her hand up.
Yeah, I was gonna say thank you, Earl, because I thought that was what the admin team was going to do, was, okay, if we go back full, but still try to maintain a safe environment, what is it going to cost us? How many more bus runs are we going to need, et cetera? So I assumed that that's where you were going with this tonight. Not that we're just talking about maybe perhaps someday in the future, but this is what going back full time and maintaining safety is going to cost in dollars and in whatever else you guys obviously need to come up with.
That's precisely correct.
Thank you.
That's precise. Okay, so Jen, did you want to go through those costs?
So, I can go through the gist of the costs. So what we did was we went through, the admin team, we went over kind of what did we purchase already. So these costs already include some of the things we already purchased. In addition, the, SPSRF is that one I asked for permission to apply for last time. I did not receive everything, but I received $141,000. So I think I spent $100,000 of it today, because we have to get all the items by next week in order to pay for them. Or we have to give them like that. So this includes enough shields for, Newt to order 200 more so that everyone can have safety, plus, MES to get more tables and more shields for, in their classroom. It includes cost for, most cafeterias to have enough shields. It includes more PPE, sprayers. We did, Tim is not quite sure, he talked about maybe redoing some bus runs, it depends on numbers and where they live basically. But we ordered sprayers to get the buses cleaned down faster. So there'll be sprayers in order to get that turnaround of the buses done, so that instead of cleaning them the way they are, if they do have more kids on them, they can just spray them down the same way they do in the cafeteria. And Bob can talk more to that because he's the one talking about them. This includes the wages. We have some staff out on ABA and some carers out plus long-term subs. But it would also include what we would need in order to go and provide support to the remote students, because now that we have students, everyone back in the building, we would still have that group of students that are remote, and so we would need some strictly remote teachers. And that's kind of detailed in the plan as well. So tables for MES, we're looking into whether or not we need tables for Newt. Masks, cleaning supplies, we added money for that. Anything that is in the STRF 1 and 2 have to be purchased, spent, and in our building by December 30th. So we're on that, and so that's why this will not match reporting next month, and Nathan will go over that next month. With the CARES Act, everything in there can be spent till the end of the year. So we move some things into those two columns to clear out the CARES Act so that we can hopefully offset some of the costs for the operating budget. Questions that I needed?
So you did make that grant, well, we made it okay.
Yeah, I asked for, like $200,000 and they gave everyone 67%. So I asked for a lot more than what we needed and got enough to get what we wanted.
That was one of my questions.
Yes, we learned last night. So last night we got notification, we got 141,000.
So you made purchases based on going back full-time?
Correct.
Okay.
That's what's in the grant. People gotta realize that.
Yes.
So Doug, yeah, so,
27.
Wait a minute, Earl.
The total cost of all of COVID funding things is a 627,000. That's at that bottom.
Yeah.
The operating budget amount would be 245. I was able to grant fund everything else.
Okay, now, Tammy, do you have a hand up for a question?
I did. So
Go ahead.
if you guys are planning on going full-time, is there still going to be the remote option? Because my kids will not go.
So that's exactly what we're looking at is, I guess that's kind of one of the questions we had said. If we're full back, then we have an educational responsibility to those who don't want to come full back. So that's what the survey is now. So how do we support those students? Jan had written in there, I know John can talk about MES and how I know that they would want the 2 full remote teachers. We would need 2 middle school remote teachers and 2 high school remote teachers because right now they have room in their schedule. Our teachers have room in their schedule to offer remote support, but that might not be possible anymore, adding all the kids back in and safety. We'd also have, Jan has the numbers, but it's between 14 and 25 kids in each class. So we don't know if the 3-foot is possible. That's kind of our next leap to figure out getting those desks in the people room every day.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
So, talking about support and remote, and talk about that. Look, this is just because I don't know. I know some schools do, and isn't there a way to have, just like we're doing right here, you have a full-time student that want to come in all day and they will sit in the classroom and you will have a Zoom set up for that classroom. The kids that don't want to come and they're going to look just like this and they're going to get the same education as the in-school class students are going to get. So it shouldn't require more instruction as far as there'll be there's always going to be your incidents that you may need it. But why can't the students, like, I mean, I have 3, 4 at home right now doing remote learning. They check in during the day and that's about the extent of it. But anyway, can't they do something like this where they're in attention for the time that that class is going until the time the class ends an hour later?
It's a bit more logistically difficult than that, I would say. Like, we had Steve kind of develop, keeping track of who's on, who's not on. So the teacher's teaching, providing that instruction, and also monitoring who's on, who's paying attention, who's watching, can be difficult. They're also now watching the students in the class. Some parents might be watching the students in the class, and if there's a issue with a student in the classroom, now that parent at home is now witnessing whatever is happening in that class, and sometimes we just have that issue. And so for students, that could be some confidentiality issues for students.
Okay, I have a question for you. I ask this every time we meet. The 412, where are they? Where's the Chromebooks? They in the
And January,
January now?
I don't know. January.
Did they make it to California?
I think they are not made and they're making them with elves at night.
Okay.
And I don't know. Like, at this point, I'm like, can we find another vendor? I don't know, but this, we send them our money.
Oh, who, is it South Korea on the Chromebooks?
I don't know who the new company is that they picked.
Well, The South Korea, I ordered a microwave and I waited 4 months for it.
I know.
So it's any day now.
4 months. All right, go ahead. Sorry, didn't hear that. Earl?
Okay, thank you, Doug. I do want to point out, you know, we're looking at all the things that stand in our way, but sometimes the successes that everyone has, when we went to Jen, as the board well knows, and it was a competitive to receive the rest of these funds, and the turnover was so great, and I was pretty ecstatic last night, and I sent it out to Jen to commend her for doing the work so quick with the help of the staff and the rest of the team. 141,000, as I look down the list, schools that were 10 times our size wound up with less or just a little bit more. And I really didn't see any school our size get the extent of the reward, although I'm sure there must have been. I didn't study it. But a lot of great work is being done in order for each model to be successful. So right from the time we were making this chart out, from last night till today, we knocked off 141,000 in terms of the work that was done. So much of what we have done has been creative, hard work, in maximizing these grants over the last year and a half or 2 years. Not that it wasn't done, it was obviously done before as well. But if you look at the facilities, so when we get out of the pandemic and the COVID era and all of the hurt and pain that the parents and the students and the staff and everyone is trying to endure, there'll be silver linings at the end. The Chromebooks will be here at some point. The roads will be paved, and we're going to have the capability to have bags on snow days. So at this point, let's finish.
No, wait a minute, Earl.
Okay.
Paul's got his hand up.
I want to go back
Okay.
to 1 second about, so you said this week you're still thinking of doing part-time permanent subs, is that what you said? Do we have a quantity of how many we're hiring to take up that void? I mean, the next time we meet is January 13th. That's over a month away. Is that going to be, I mean, are we going to be able to do something and get that moving?
I can respond to Paul. Thank you, Paul. At the end of the night, I was going to point out a couple of things to you. That was number one, the permission of the board, that I and the administrative team will come to me and will put people on if we're fortunate enough to secure them. And that goes not only for the subs, but Bob hasn't had a chance to speak yet, but we have an incredible void in Bob's staff. We've been talking about it for months, and it's only gotten more severe. I know Doug had a chance to talk to him today. It started out about a different situation, but it got to that. But in answering your question, Paul, I'm asking the board a question that I do have the, I can put these folks on, and then the 13th when we meet, you can approve them.
So do we have a number right now that would fill that void? That would be the optimum number we could hire, so short term?
Yeah.
I think it's on the list there,
I don't know.
right? Jan and John?
Not
Do
the
you wanna-
substitutes, just the needed staff, full-time staff.
Yeah, it's on the chart we gave them.
The
Correct.
needed full-time, yeah, the full-time
I guess
staff.
I'm
that we need.
piggyback on the fact that John said they've had an thing advertised since summertime with no bites. So if a part-time substitute is easier to get, and we know we may have a better chance of that, do we have a number that we're looking at, especially in the middle school and high school, that would fill that number,
Right.
that would fill that void short term?
Like, do you want 7?
10,
I know what you're saying. So,
What's that?
I know what you're saying, so like if someone called in, what, you know, or 2 people called in, how many subs do we need on backup for that to be?
Well, I guess maybe I misunderstood. It sounded like you guys were gonna be putting it out there to start hiring part-time permanent subs?
Yes.
Do we have a number? Okay, Milton School Department's looking to hire 11 part-time subs. So that way, like, okay, well, we only got 1 or 2, but, I mean, what would be the optimum number to keep us rolling, to get us right in? Because the staffing is a shortfall right now, to get us into full-time school in February.
So for full-time, so I would say for right now, just to make it through hybrid, just speaking from off the top of my head, what I can see from what I need each day, I would need 6 right now. To then go full-time, you would need to add in 4 to 5 more.
Thank you.
How many more? I'm sorry.
That would be, so for remote teachers, you would need 4 teachers. If you're talking just substitutes, I would say I need 5.
Thank you.
For me.
I just want to put like a
Full-time
concrete,
or
like
part-time.
like a figure.
I would love them to be full-time, but I will take them part-time, because I can fill them in and out. So, I mean, I will take you every Monday, if that's what you'd like to sign up for.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That's kind of trying to what I'm.
Yeah, I have a chart.
Perfect.
I have a question for Jen then. Are we able to use some of that grant money for that?
So I wrote that in, yes. So, can people hear me? So that is kind of written in. So on the back where it says, the wage is salary, that is for the long-term sub that Sarah's subbing.
48,000?
So 48,000 is what has already been spent from September till December 30th. That is the amount spent. The 73,000 is how much is spent to cover anyone from January to June 30th.
Do we have that money, or do we,
The 73 we have.
so we're covered?
We need the 245, just a couple $100, 245. We got it. That I couldn't find. I'm working on it.
I know you
We're
are.
doing a good job.
You are.
I'm trying.
Thank you.
Real good job.
I do want to say, what you do is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It really is. I like puzzles, and it looks more, and I hate them, so this is unbelievable.
Okay, anybody else? Moving on, we all set? Earl?
You said
Never
for Bob.
back.
We have Bob and Tim and Rob Quaz speak. Bob, why don't you start first?
Okay, yeah, I'd be glad to.
About how you're staffing, what you would need to go full.
Okay. Yeah, to go full, based on the work that we're currently doing now, to extend that for more coverage for the evening, the school board had approved before getting a long-term sub back in September for 6 months. So I still need that to cover like the everyday scenario. And then beyond that, I probably would need 3 subs that would be on the roster, available basically for the most part, I think, to work second shift, occasionally first shift. So I need 1 long-term sub and 3 that would be on the roster.
Now, Bob, I know Earl, you're not gonna like this, but I got some questions. Is it a problem with pay?
The problem certainly is with pay. A person with several years of experience in the pay range, is falling in with what starting pay would be for somebody for any of the entry-level jobs right next door in Rochester. So that definitely ends up being an issue for sure.
Okay, because step 1 per janitor for an hourly rate. The start of step one is $11.02, okay? And it is a shift differential, and that would be $11.27, okay? And say at step 11, you start them at step 11, it's $13.86, and the night shift would be $14.11. So,
They can make more than that at McDonald's.
there you go. Or Walmart distribution center, or, so I think what we need to do is, we bring him in and we find somebody qualified, I think we need to, because everybody's on the front line and they're on the front line too. And if we don't keep it clean, we're gonna be in trouble. Okay, go ahead, Bob.
Yes, yeah, just, Earl had brought up a little bit of rear view mirrors, and just with the experience that I've had, with, my day people, since Columbus Day, I've had to cover almost 6 weeks worth of day work, for anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day, and then extend, somebody else, out of my team to actually come in around midday so I can get back and do, my regular job. So that certainly has been very difficult. We've been fortunate that we only have, one person out for several days in the evening, to get through, so that worked out okay. This week, it was kind of weird coming with the storm that we had. Person had lost their power, so then I was short one person at the elementary school, but because Newt was on remote, I could pull one person out of Newt and send them up to cover the elementary school. So it's always quite a juggling game, trying to get everything covered and do all the work that needs to be done throughout the day and through the evening. Any questions on that part?
So Bob, how many people do you need?
I need one full-time, long-term sub, and I would need 3 substitute custodians.
I make a motion that we hire what we need for custodians, well, based on what he just recommended.
Paul seconded it. Yeah. Did you get that, Tammy? Okay. Do I have any discussion? No. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Peg?
Aye.
Okay. Bob?
Yeah, thank you then.
Anything else, Bob?
I don't know if it'd be timely or not, but it might dovetail into a warrant article later, but just the weekend experience, I'd like to talk about that with the snowstorm. Saturday night, I ended up, I ate dinner early, went in and started driving the 1-ton to start removing that heavy wet snow. I ended up having electrical problems and couldn't pick the plow up. So I parked that in the front of Newt, walked around the building and jumped into the Silverado, and I proceeded for yet about another hour. And then I ran into an issue with the fan controls, so I didn't have any defroster. So I tried a couple of cloths, microfiber cloths, to try and keep that clear, and that wasn't working at all for me because the weather was so nasty out. So I called Pat Smith, the road agent, and asked him if he had any vehicle at all that I could borrow. And I was able to borrow a truck from him. And while I was out plowing, Pat's mechanic was able to fix the 1-ton for me by salvaging a part out of one of the trucks down at the yard. And then, so I got my 1-ton back for me to keep on going, and then finally get back to my own home at 1 in the morning. Then I proceeded to get my own driveway done. So, because if I didn't do that and get that all cleaned up with the snow blower, then I wasn't sure what Sunday was gonna bring. So Sunday went at least a little bit better with the sun shining and the 1-ton rolling. And I was able to get back into school and started doing that work. And then all the custodians ended up doing all of the grounds work. So part of what I had to deal with this weekend on the Sunday then was 2 new staff that had been brought on during the summer working with the team. So basically, I didn't have anyone plowing but myself because I needed to get everyone well grounded on what the process and sequencing would be of getting all of the snow removal done. So with a whole bunch of stress, we got through, and I guess I'd want to add in, although I ended up having to give up the whole weekend, I was glad it fell on the weekend and not during the week. It would have been pretty difficult to get the school back opened up the next day.
No, question, Bob.
Yeah.
What's the status on the Silverado, on the repair?
That's gonna go down to the Milton Garage at the dam next Wednesday. And they're gonna run through that. So I don't know if it's a switch or motor or wire or whatever, but we'll figure that out.
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so that's, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm all set. Did anyone have any questions on any of their equipment that Jen had showed you in a spreadsheet? And if not, next.
Okay, while we're on you, Bob, one quick, Paul had raised a point, and then Melissa asked you how much staff that you needed. What we were looking for is whether it's the building folks, Jen and Rob and John, to give me the authority to put on to get the subs going, and then working with Bob, if Bob can secure somebody to get them going until the next time the board meets, because as Paul said, we're fighting for staff. It's a desperate time, and we would need the auspices to begin them as we can secure them. So do I and the administrative team would give the recommendation to me, and I would approve it, and we would begin them and subsequently get them approved by the board at the next time the board met. So do I have that auspices?
I want to know exactly who he's gonna hire. Can you give us a list who you want to hire, Earl? Exactly.
I don't know. We just said it. Paul asked, what do you need? And the principals said what they needed, and Bob said it. So that's, I mean, are we going to get 3 custodians and 8 or 10 subs? I don't think so. If we get 1 or 2, we'd like to begin them.
Right, I think that, just to clarify, we all agree there's a staffing issue, there's an immediate need. Can we bypass the waiting for the board to say yes first? Get people started in and see it after. I think I make a motion if that's what we're looking for. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
You making that motion?
I am making that motion.
Seconding it.
Well, my question is, it's gonna be for long-term subs. That's my question, the teachers, okay, then janitors. 1 long-term full-time and 3 part-times? That's what you're asking for only?
Yeah, Buzz too. Buzz is if Tim
I
could get subs.
No, I think what he's asking is for all positions.
Exactly.
The subs for the MES newt, the remote teacher, like, in other words, like, time is ticking and we need to hire people, and we're lucky if they apply, we need to.
I have no problem.
Hire away.
I don't wanna, see assistant superintendent. That's what I'm worried about.
No, I'm not gonna create crazy positions like that.
Just what we've just talked about.
Substitute.
Okay, I have no problem. I wanted a list.
So basically, for Earl to have permission or the authority to go ahead and hire for these positions.
Yes,
All substitute
And they
positions.
can start before we see their,
on the 13th.
Yeah, we don't want to wait all the way to January.
No. All right?
Yep.
We have a question on the phone. I'll move it. No, aye.
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 Peg?
Aye.
Okay, Earl, you got it.
Thank you on behalf of myself and the team. Tim, you're on. You've been very nice to sit around and wait for your turn.
I learned my manners. So yeah, as far as transportation, I'll echo the same things that Bob was mentioning, as far as staffing. The good thing is we've got a full staff, but as I've mentioned all along, similar to in the schools, that if in fact we end up having someone go out due to sickness or having to quarantine, after one and possibly two drivers going out, we are definitely going to have an issue, to the point that we probably would have to combine runs or do multiple runs or something to that effect. So just keep that in mind, and certainly keep your fingers crossed that it goes well. As far as the likelihood of hiring anybody, nobody is banging at the door. It's not that we haven't been advertising, just nobody's applying. And I know you've asked in the past, Doug, if it's money. I think ultimately it probably does come down to money, but there's certainly other factors in that. The responsibility of driving students, and also dealing with road traffic and what have you, and all the multiple levels of licensing that the drivers have to go through in order to become a driver. It's taking anywhere from a month up to 6 months for someone to become a licensed school bus driver, just because of running through all the state requirements. So just keep that in mind. But other than that, certainly we're going strong. The drivers have been fantastic with the daily changes. But we're plugging on and hope to continue that way.
Do you want the same authority that we just gave Earl for a bus driver to hire, to find one?
I think the authority that you gave Earl is fine. I don't anticipate that we would have anybody coming down the pike. I know there is, not that I would want to steal anybody, but I know there's a bit of an upheaval in Wakefield. So we may get a couple of those drivers knocking at the door, but at this point, like I said, we've had the ad running for a long time at this point, and I'm certainly not holding my breath.
Thank you. Okay, Earl.
I have a question, Doug, for Tim.
Go ahead.
I know we were talking about the costs of of going full-time, and one of the other meetings that we had, or one of the prior meetings when we talked about it, one of the questions that was brought up was, we now have the buses totally safe, minimal children, and they're separated. If we go back full-time, you would have full bus loads. I think one of the problems or concerns was doing separate runs, like doing a half run and then going back and getting some more kids and coming back.
That's correct. In order to still stay within the guidelines of the spacing on the bus, we would not be able to fill a bus with students. We would still need to stay within that requirement. So consequently, we would have to look at the numbers per route, potentially shift the routes to move maybe a particular route that doesn't have as many students to try and lessen the load on one of the others, or potentially go to split runs. So we'd bring one group in, and then the bus would go right back out and start another route and bring that group of students in. Likewise in the afternoon, taking them home. So it would not necessarily add time per se to the drivers, but certainly the students in school, that would add time to the staff at the school to watch students in between that time of going out.
So
Wait a minute,
follow-up
Paul has
question.
It's actually
Does that, like, that not having enough room on the buses reflect this feedback about how many people will need the bus if we go back full time?
Yeah.
Estimating 56 MES students and 47 new students. Do I understand that
That's
correctly?
81% of the people responding.
Okay.
So, I mean, there should be, if we're running 4 buses, right, if we're not doing both, if we're doing separate cohorts, there should be enough, right? Am I getting that right?
But
There
even
should
though
be enough-
there wouldn't be cohorts if we were back full time.
All right, right.
But still, that's
We have enough-
56
right,
to
never
47
mind.
kids, but not everybody responded, but that's still an average of like 13 kids per.
But that raises another question. Well, you're having to make double runs, is it gonna change the start times? School?
But that's what I'm saying is, I don't know enough to know. That just doesn't seem like a lot of kids for 4 buses. 47?
Yeah, and unfortunately, at this point, there is still a lot of unknown until more parents respond to the survey and we can narrow that down. And then if we have to make phone calls to find out who's going to be riding. But my first hope would be that we could just an adjustment to the routes to make it work instead of that split time, but worst case scenario would be the split time.
Can we do that? Can we start making phone calls to figure out exactly where these kids live that are responding? Because I mean, transportation is a pretty big issue, right? So that's sort of a bonus staffing.
Peg?
Okay, my follow-up question, thank you, Tim. But I'm just thinking, if I'm a bus driver and I have to make 2 runs, my normal route or, a little bit somewhere out of the way, twice a day, isn't that going to increase our costs? I mean, you're gonna have to pay me more money and will be more gas being used?
Yeah, the fuel may be adjusted, but I don't anticipate a huge increase there. And as far as time, like I said, I think there's enough adjustment in the actual contract of the drivers that we should be okay there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Earl?
I think that, as Tim pointed out, Peg had brought it up, and Emily had brought up the 2 things that I was going to have Tim expound upon. And the key thing there, that was why the question was put on there. We did add that. I thought we should add that. That way it would give us an idea. Unfortunately, as we take a look at the survey at the end, the building administrators and everyone, the guidance counselors and the secretaries have tried to call people, try to get them to respond. But as we pointed out, and as you discussed, unfortunately, we don't have all the people responding. So as Tim said, in his trying to control the gerrymandering of where the school bus runs are going to be, he's dealing with some unknowns because we really don't have the full impact of who we really have to transport. So part of as we delve into this, that's why, not to revisit it, but that's why tonight we're giving you the snapshot of what right now looks in terms of trying to enact a plan, and everybody's bringing up some good points that parallel, that are in fidelity with what we had thought about. So come next month, hopefully, we will have more. Tim will have more information. We'll get out there and try to get more info on specifically who we need to transport.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, Rob Kwok. Rob, we're talking about full in, what that would mean in terms of delivering instruction for your students.
Right. Obviously, that's what we're looking for. That would be ideal. There would continue to be some students who'd be fully remote under that model, I'm sure, and I think we're well set up to take care of them. We've been doing a nice job, I think, as a district ever since March in delivering instruction that way, excuse me, and related services as best as it can be. But having all the students in is definitely what I'm looking forward to. As far as what would be needed, we would definitely need some staff. I think at least 2 paraprofessionals per building would need to be hired. Right now, we essentially double our paraprofessional capacity because we only see half the kids a day. So 1 paraprofessional who might normally work with 1 kid every day can work with 2 kids, one every other day. And so when that capacity no longer exists, when we have every kid in the building, it would be a strain on what we have currently in both Newt and at MES. I think something just to think about as we go forward, just as I think some parents will be uncomfortable with every student being in the building and will elect to go remote. I think it's possible we may see the same thing from teachers with health concerns or in, who would be considered in at-risk populations. So that would immediately increase our needs for staff beyond what I'm currently anticipating.
So how many paras do you need? Bottom
2
line.
per building would probably get me through.
All right,
That's what that's for. Want 4?
Yes, sir.
okay, then I make a motion.
I may not
to
want
hire-
8, but 4 will do.
I'll give you 4. I'll make a motion to hire 4 paraprofessionals.
Second. Did you get that, Tammy? Any discussion? We're gonna give that authority to Earl too? I need to know that.
Yes.
All right, okay. Aye.
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 Peg?
Aye.
Done.
Okay, so also the survey results you have there, as we did allude to, you have the amount of respondents that we have, and so that is the up-to-date as of this day.
Next one.
You all set? Moving on?
Okay, that concludes that segment of a snapshot of all in. We do have a couple of areas on the administrative report not related directly necessarily to what we discussed, but Jan, can you speak about the merger of the contract that I sent to the board? As you know, for 2 years, we have been discussing this. So Jan, could you give them an update on where we are as far as the contract?
Yeah, so, at the October 28th board meeting, we discussed trying to form a co-op agreement with Farmington, similar to how we did in football. We're doing it for soccer. So we put together a proposal for a boys varsity soccer team and a girls JV varsity team, just based on the numbers that both school programs have. We met with the NHIA soccer committee on Monday, so they're reviewing the proposal, which I sent you guys for something to talk tonight. So basically, it says that our players will transport themselves to Farmington, but Farmington will provide all transportation to any away games. They will provide the coach, they will provide the facilities, they'll provide the uniforms. We will not cut any players. Players will follow the eligibility procedures of their individual schools. They will pay for the coach and facility transportation uniforms that we would contribute $300 per player that is sent over there to help offset those costs. We looked at the numbers. It's a 2-year proposal. In 2 years, we decide whether we want to continue it or not. Their concern is, that our combined number puts us in Division 3, and more than likely to stay in Division 4. There's a petition form that both schools have to complete, and also send off to the NHIA petition for us to remain, in Division 4. They're usually pretty stringent about numbers, however, they do look at competitiveness. Again, they struggled to have a team this year, we've struggled for several years to have a team. I'm hoping that they will give us this.
Are these both high school teams, or are they combined? You know what I mean? Is it middle high or high?
It's high school.
High school. So will we at Newt still continue to try to do middle school soccer?
They'll have our own
And we'll
middle
just
school
co-ed?
combined team, and then our girls will go to the JV team there, and our boys will
Got
go
it. And it says on here that Newt players need to do their own transportation. Is there any chance of us being able to bus students to Farmington?
There is a possibility, but I have to work with Tim on that.
Just
Trying
curious.
availability. So football players, carpool, and got themselves there. So that's initially the plan, but yes, if we have a bus available, we can transfer.
Thanks, it looks good. That was one of the things I had.
So you want the authority to do it for 2 years?
Like, story what?
You want the authority to do it for 2 years?
Yes, I need it in the board meeting minutes that you guys approved this cooperative,
I will make a motion. Is there any motion?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second it.
Wait a minute. I think we need to authorize Jan and,
The problem is I did not hear anything she said because it's very hard to hear.
I'll give you a copy of the agreement, how's that?
Okay, thank you.
in the motion, we need to ask that the new principal sign it and the new athletic director sign it.
Yes, and I do
Back
have a copy, I can give you that as,
In the motion, please.
It's in the motion.
I'm happy. Aye.
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 Peg?
I actually had a question, but we went right into voting on it.
Oh, we think.
You were voted anyway.
What's your question? Hold it up to you.
Well, I'm asking about the cost of the uniforms, because I'm just thinking, football uniforms, they are charging us $300 per football student, correct, Jan?
it was 350 for football, so it is less for soccer than it was for football.
I'm sorry, I did not hear that this
They were
transmission.
charging us 350 for football, and it's 300 for soccer, so they are
Okay.
charging us less.
Okay, very good, thank you, that's all I had. Aye.
So, Pat,
Could you just please tell me the motion again?
Go ahead, Emily.
The motion was to approve this cooperative agreement with Farmington
For 2 years.
for 2 years. And that the principal
And to
and
give the principal and the athletic director the authority to sign on it.
thank you for that.
And did you get the people that made the motion and seconded it?
Yes.
Tammy? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, anything else, Earl?
Excellent. Thank you a lot. Thank you very much for all your support on all of this.
So you all done, Earl?
Yes, thank you so much
Okay,
for
Earl.
all your support in this.
That's it, Earl. Okay, moving on, operating budget. Page 16 to 41. Do I have any questions?
Peg, of course. Am I still on?
Okay, shoot.
I only had a couple of questions that Nate answered, and he really has pretty much answered everything in the past. But I think the big one was making sure that the tuition for the special ed students had already been encumbered and it had, so I was happy.
Anything else?
Nope.
Moving on. Page, it's gonna be revenue for 11/1/20 to 11/30/20, page 42 and 43. Any questions?
Nope.
Good. Okay, grant report. 11/1/2020 to 11/30,
Lots of money.
page 44 to 48. Any questions?
Nope.
Good. Okay. I think that is it for that.
Oh, what's, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, what do you got there? You're missing something.
Oh, okay, this is about the, elections?
No,
That was it for
it's
financial meetings.
This,
that's up next. That's page- Okay, now the COVID update, I think we're done.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, we
done.
did all that.
done.
Okay, I would see page 49 and 50, I only put that in there because of the changes for COVID, the 10 days. That was an FYI. Okay? Go ahead, I'm sorry. Who are you?
So Marion Jones, Association President, MEA President, Marion Jones. We signed an agreement in the beginning, or basically a one-page statement that said that we were to adhere to a 14-day quarantine. It was a part of our back-to-school packet. So I am asking the board to open up and to sit down with us and do an MOU. And with all the different changes coming up, we're coming back, we need to sit down, and I think we need to do another MOU and iron out these, because we have signed a paper that we basically see as a contract that says 14 days. I know that guidelines have changed, but we have to kind of adhere to what we signed.
I don't think we ever signed an MOU.
We signed one coming back to school.
But I think we also agreed that we follow all CDC guidelines.
But it said in the contract, it basically, or that paper that we signed said 14 days. So I know CDC guidelines, but I think we need to sit down and continue working on an MOU, especially since our plan, back-to-school plan, has been changing.
So what are you asking for if we follow the 10-day as opposed to the 14-day?
Well, I'm basically saying that we have agreed to, and we have put our name on a piece of paper that says we are to adhere to 14 days of quarantine.
Okay, so, but are you saying they're gonna ask for more money if we only do a 10-day quarantine?
I'm not asking for any more money.
I'm trying to figure out what
What
the,
I want to do is that we have agreements, and we have signatures on papers, and things are changing, and things are changing rapidly.
What, can I just,
Go ahead.
what I'm hearing is a lot of changes are happening really quickly. It makes sense, just come back to the table and have a conversation. Is that fair? I mean, and I think that that's a fair.
Right, I'm not saying we're not going to agree to it. I'm
Right,
not
we
saying-
all want to make sure we're on the same page.
Right.
This, again, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is what I'm hearing. We just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Well, I think something could be done to the paper they signed, if we do an amended version, is to follow whatever the current guidelines are per the CDC regulations, blah, 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 as opposed to locking in to one thing. I have a new COVID desk guide that comes out every 2 weeks at the shipyard, and I have to abide by the new rules. So I think that, I mean, what's good for one is good for the other. To amend it to say whatever the current guideline is what has to be followed.
But I think there's a lot of things, again, sorry, I'm speaking.
I mean, it's.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. There's a lot of changes. We're talking about going back fully, we're talking about, so it maybe makes sense to come back and review everything, correct?
Yes.
And I think
That's all
personally that
that's all
that's a
we are
fair.
asking, is to sit down at the table and look at this, we'll look at the reopening plan again, and look at all the paperwork that went with it, and look at, looking at it and making sure it's still in line with what everybody needs, what the school district needs, and what the teachers need, in the best interest of everybody.
That's something that needs a motion, can I make a motion?
No, that'd be up to Peg and myself to do that.
So we're gonna have to make that so.
Peg's the chairperson.
Gonna make it so, Peg?
I'm absolutely fine, thank you. We will be in touch.
We all set? Okay, 5A, the reason Chris gave us this letter, if you look on the back, we are closed on the 9th, the teacher's workshop, but we had an issue with using the home ec room. I think what he wants to clarify is that we still are going to be able to use the gym, the CAF, and the home ec room during the elections.
but he's asking that we have, that the teachers have, a workshop that day so the kids aren't in the building.
Yes, the building's closed.
We already.
Yeah.
But he wants to make sure that he's able to get in the home rec room because we had a problem last time.
So is that a question for Jan?
Probably for Bob.
Bob?
What? Yeah, say that again? Were you asking then?
Chris is asking to use the gym, the cast, and the home ec room again on March 9th during the elections. Is that gonna be okay? Jim?
Well, what the issue ends up being, they actually want refrigeration. So that's why they had originally asked for the kitchen. And we said we can't do that, because of, how we clean how the kitchen's cleaned and it's contract services. So even a refrigerator in in the home ec room may not have enough room. So that part's kind of awkward. We really don't have the refrigeration issue, to offer them necessarily. And they did want to use just one of the ovens for warming stuff up, which, obviously the home ec room has. So I guess it wasn't clear going way back when the primary, and that's where things, I'll say, went downhill, because we didn't have a clear understanding of what they actually needed within the facility for them to do what they were doing.
That's why it's brought up.
I guess the part of it get complicated because they have a group that comes in that sells food to make some money, which has nothing to do with them needing the building for doing, the election and primary that they did.
But I thought they were also feeding the people that do the elections. Peg?
Yeah, that was,
Yes.
however, it is that it was a side agreement, with Mr. Jacobs and that team. That's what was happening. So I mean, that's his gig. I don't know the details.
Peg?
If I can just expound, okay, yeah, I'm not on mute. They do make lunch and dinner for the people who work at the polls, which, I mean, I went down because I know the people, and I went down just to say goodbye after the regular election. And I mean, they seem to cook a whole turkey and all the fixings and everything else. And I'm assuming that they cleaned up, Bob. I hope they did.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
They do cook because it's a very long day. 'Cause
Yes,
I've
it is.
gone to it. I've
Yeah.
done it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it is. I mean, I've done it in the past too. And came back and worked, and I don't know. I mean, they do a really nice job. So
Jan looks like she's ready to,
No, and my question is, based on CDC guidelines, having the kitchen clean up to those guidelines. That's my only concern, is that aspect.
The custodians will have to clean the room after they clean it. It's not so much COVID as any room that we serve food in or put food in has to have certain cleaning done. So after they clean it, then our custodians would also clean that night. But my question, or I guess my suggestion is, I will probably try to have a remote professional development day that day. The September primary, we didn't have school, no one was in the building. One election, nobody was in the building. They have the workers use middle school bathrooms, and they have their high school, or they have the people who are voting use the high school bathrooms. We would not be able to. That would be my decision. They have no access to a bathroom. I can't see them much anywhere. So I think for that day, I would probably try to have a remote professional development.
could not hear a thing, Jan, at all. You just kind of in and out and in and out and in and out.
Thick mask, I'm sorry. So I said I would probably try to have a remote professional development day because they have their workers use the middle school bathroom and the people coming in to vote use the high school bathrooms. And so my teachers will be locked in their rooms with really no bathroom access, nor the ability to feed them or have meetings other than over Zoom. So if I'm going to do everything over Zoom anyway, I may have a remote PD day.
are you able to accomplish what you need to accomplish that way? You feel
I haven't planned that far ahead yet.
We'll make it so.
Thank you, Jan.
That still doesn't answer.
John has a question.
Still doesn't. Who does? John?
Well, I wanted to invite Newt staff to come over to MES that day. Well, maybe not the whole staff, because we have to, maybe we just do teachers or certain groups. If we wanted to use MES as our place to host our professional development, it might be nice to get groups of teachers together somehow, socially distant, remote, whatever the conditions are. I mean, I just wanted to put that out there for you, Jan, as an option.
And we affect the whole population.
Okay, but that still hasn't
We
answered
need
my,
to just decide about the home ec room, correct?
that's what I need. We're gonna allow the election people to use the home ec room.
I will make a motion to allow them to cook in the home ec room with the caveat that they do clean it up when they're done, which Bob said they did. So,
I'll
second that.
Okay?
Okay, but we still have to have custodians go in and clean that. So my concern is it gonna cost us anything for having the custodians go in and clean that?
I mean, the custodians are gonna have to clean
They're here anyway to
the
walk
other
up.
space.
Okay, that's my,
Yeah, seems reasonable.
That was Emily and Melissa that did that. Yeah.
Al's got a
Peg
question.
made the motion.
Peg made the motion.
and Emily.
Okay, all right, I just want to make sure I got it right.
You good?
No, I just want to make sure I got it right.
Okay, Al had a question.
Al?
all the staff going over to MES professional development day, is there room?
Can you,
Does all of the new staff go over to MES?
No, not what John said.
In the cafeteria.
Well, it would be, sorry.
Go ahead.
It's just it would probably most would be remote, but it would just be an option for small groups or whatever. I'm just offering that up. I'd probably just wait and talk with Jan about it, but
Okay.
I just offered it up in case that was a hindrance to your vote.
Okay, okay,
so,
move the question. Aye.
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 Okay. So I can notify Chris, he's got the home ec room.
Yep.
Okay, everybody. 5B, we gotta draft some warrant articles. Did you make a list? This was homework. Yeah, I asked you.
The usual three.
Let's,
The
The
library.
usual four.
okay, let's get, okay,
Three trust funds.
what's your first one, Paul?
The,
Special ed?
Paul,
yes,
can't hear you. I'm sorry.
get Peg hearing aids will be number two.
Tammy needs them too.
Number one will be the special ed trust fund,
How much money in, out of,
50,000,
out of surplus?
yes.
Okay, so what I wanna hear.
I didn't hear.
Special ed,
That's run out of
special ed,
surplus.
50,000 out of the surplus. That's one. You got that, Tammy? Tammy's got it, okay.
Yep.
What do you want for two?
Number two would be, what are the other two, the ones we always?
Library.
Nope, the trust funds. One is the facilities one.
Do you want, wait a minute, Nate, speak.
Basically, we usually do special ed, maintenance, the bus, and tech from surplus.
The bus and what?
Technology.
Tech. So
Technology.
those four in that order.
No, I only
And
got-
library books.
In the library, yep. So special ed,
Yeah,
maintenance,
yeah,
bus,
wait a minute. How much, okay,
tech, and then the 5,000 for the library.
5,000, the Larry comes out of the operating budget.
Well, we always put a warrant article in for the 5,000 for the library.
But it gives you out of the operating budget.
Yes.
It's not, right?
No.
It's a warrant
It's a
article.
warrant article.
We've always done a warrant article.
No, I'm not, that I'm not
You need
arguing
a warrant
about.
article for it to come out of the operating budget, not only if there's a surplus.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Oh,
saying. That's what I'm saying.
I got confused.
Confusing. That's
Yeah,
okay.
well, Nate got his hand up.
Yeah. Wave it, Nate,
Nate.
wait.
I believe the library books have to come first because it's out of the operating budget, whereas the surplus comes afterwards.
No, yeah, and I'm not putting them in particular order, he
Okay.
asked me
All right.
what we came up with, and then
Okay.
we can organize them.
All right.
Okay, the tech, how much we want and where do we want to take it?
Come on, Nate.
The others are all out of surplus.
Surplus.
We ain't done yet, we got one more after this. Nate,
I would say 50,000 for maintenance, like we always do.
Yep.
where do you want to take it out of?
Surplus.
Okay, all right.
Buses?
I would say at least 15 for buses out of surplus.
Okay.
I think we normally do 15.
Yep.
Okay, wait a minute. Now you got the tech, how you want to do the tech?
And then tech, we usually do 10 out of surplus. I don't know if you guys want to
Yeah.
change it, but that's typically what we do.
400 and something, I didn't know that.
Okay, I got one other question here, and this is for Bob. I think we need to static another we need to static capital reserve fund for that plow truck, that pickup and a plow on it. Put some money in it, and get that going. Bob?
Yeah, right, so maintenance vehicles, trust fund, we've tried to do that before, and we should try that again.
Starting with 5,000?
I'll start with anything you want to put in it.
Yeah, whatever a number's a number, I think, just to get it started helps us.
5,000.
And take it out of the operating budget?
I thought you said capital reserve.
No, I don't know if we want to do that. Do we want to, we may not have enough money. What do we want to do with that one? Do it straight warrant article?
Yes.
Straight warrant article? Is that what we want?
Yes.
And that's for the plow truck, is that what you said?
Vehicle.
Maintenance vehicles.
Maintenance vehicles.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I have one other question I'm gonna ask. Are we gonna do a pay retention program?
I don't want any more warrant articles this year. Every year we start off with 5.
Everybody's stealing? What's that?
I said, every year we start with 5 or 6 and end up with 14.
No, we ain't had 14 in the past.
Well, we always add a ton more. We always double
We ain't done no 14.
them. Okay, I'm sorry, 12.
That's good, I like that.
No more.
No more?
No more for me. Thank you.
Okay, so I need you got all of those, Nate?
Though it was 5,000 for the vehicle trust fund
Yes.
to create
Yeah.
it? Then yes,
Yeah.
I do. I have them all.
Okay, then I need a motion for all of these. How many you got, Nate?
Yeah, 6.
Okay,
Earl's got his hand up.
Earl?
Okay, should we hear from Rob Qua on what he thinks we might want to put in the sped one, the first one?
Did 50.
We did 50.
Yeah, but what do we want to do more is what I'm asking Rob.
No. No.
Nate, send them to me, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, there might be
Wow.
something to be said for that, only because if we take a whole heap out, we'd want to try to put some back in, I imagine, but.
But I think if we increase it, we're gonna lose it.
Yep. We do 50 every year, I think it's safe. Especially if we don't use all 250 this year.
What we don't use, we'll give it back. Peg?
Yeah, I have a question actually for you, Doug. Based on a couple of comments from our presentation to the budget committee, did you, or were you approached at all by the, whatever, the planning board for the capital improvement? Because I know last year it was kind of all the stuff that you worked with them on, kind of dropped off the list. So I don't know if you got together with any of them this year or with Bob Woodruff again?
I have tried during the summers that this board would do work on the CIP, and it has not happened yet. Okay?
With the planning board?
Well, we need to work on our CIP, capital improvement program, get that on their chart.
Well, I know, but you worked on it last year and had some really good things that, we had all agreed to. And then by the time it was time to present it, just about everything that the school district put on it was dropped off and other things were moved up. So I didn't know if you bothered again this year or not.
Well, they're still there, wherever they were.
I,
The big program we're gonna have in the future is, doing the SAU building. It's probably the biggest CIP we got coming down the road. Okay, I need a motion to approve these 6 in a second.
Second.
Emily?
Aye.
Wait, I done that. Paul seconded?
Yeah, I seconded, yep.
Okay, aye.
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 Peg?
Aye. Aye.
So these warrant articles can be written. What, we have to get them reviewed by the DRA?
Yeah,
Okay.
but these are pretty straightforward, so I don't see any issues.
Shouldn't have a problem.
No.
So we can send a copy to the budget committee then?
Yeah, if you want me to.
Well, they're asking for them.
Okay.
Yes, once they are corrected or written correctly or whatever. Yes.
You can send a copy to the Department of Tammy, okay?
I already have it ready to go.
Okay.
Okay. I vote for that. Aye.
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 Aye. Peg?
I'm sorry.
Done for sure, Peg, no. Don't take a shot at getting it done.
Tammy, do you know what we're voting on?
They already
Yes.
said aye before. Motion
what?
Don't worry,
to, motion
done
to
it
approve
again.
warrant articles.
I already said aye.
Good, you said it again, thank you.
Aye, aye.
Okay.
Aye, aye.
Okay, the reason I brought this up, the new books from the New Hampshire Municipal Association are out. Town meeting and school meeting handbook for 20 and 21, they're $90. Well, you remember, we get it for 45. And the other one is the basic law of budgeting, which is for 2020, which is basically $70. You get it for half price for 35. Okay, I called Ernie, all we have to do is cut him a check, and he can order it for us. I would like, asking this board to put a copy of these in the SAU. And that total would be $80 to go ahead and purchase the town meeting, school meeting handbook, the basic law of budgeting. I'll make that a motion
I'll second it.
for discussion.
Who refers to those?
We do. Probably save us some lawyer fees. I do.
You do? Okay.
I do all the time. Mine are out of date, but I'll buy my own though.
So what were they again? The town meeting and what?
School meeting handbook for 20 and 21. Okay, normal the cost is 90, but we'll get it for 45.
Right.
Okay, the other one is the basic law of budgeting. That's for 2020, normally it's 70. Remember, so it's half price for 35, it's a total of $80. So we'll cut a PO, get the money to Ernie, and he'll order it for us. Peg?
What does the New Hampshire School Board Association put out as far as budgeting and law? Because, pardon?
Not like this. This is a nice handbook.
No, I know, I have an old one also that when I went to the workshop, but I just have found that everything that we've received from the School Board Association is really geared towards school districts, where that really is geared more towards towns or municipalities and touches upon school districts, but
School districts, Peg. It's in the book.
I think it can't hurt to have it. Can I make a motion?
He did.
You already
We
motioned.
already motioned it, so just vote yes.
We're discussing it. Aye.
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 Peg?
aye.
Okay. Earl, can we get that, Nate, can we cut that PO for Ernie?
Yes.
Get it to him for $80?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I have, anything for old business? Committee and board member reports.
No.
Peg, when's the next budget committee meeting?
It is the 16th, and I just want to say that I personally felt that our presentation to the budget committee went very, very well. And, you know, I've heard back from Humphrey that, you know, first of all, I was pleased that we did come in under the default. But, you know, the reports and the questions that he asked were so few compared to what they've been in the past that went very well, so.
Do you see any need for the board to be present on the 16th if they're gonna vote on the budget?
Nope, I really don't. I mean, I know you always go, Doug, to the meetings, but yeah, it seems like it's just going to be a very, very straight meeting.
So we probably could have the warrant articles? No,
That
no,
would
no,
be
no.
awesome. If they
Oh,
could be ready for the 16th, that would be great.
No, I don't, they could have them by then.
You can emphasize, there's only 6 this year.
Not 12.
Just to cut budgets, we keep save money, it was only 6.
Nate?
They're pretty much done.
So there you go. They can have them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
It's copy and
Okay,
paste, it's
all right.
everything we asked for, so
Public
it shouldn't be
comment.
a surprise.
Any public comment? Anybody left over there? I can't see. No, here there is. Public? No, guess not. Moving on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Al.
I was just curious as to where we're at with setting up a meeting and discussing with Wakefield on the possible merger of 2 kingdoms just for another follow-up potential.
I think we're waiting for information from them for clarification.
We're waiting on
What-
Wakefield? Okay.
For what they really want.
Okay.
I think we sent them back, didn't we?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, they want a meeting, we'll have one. Okay, I need a motion to go into non-public. Emily?
I'll second.
Coming into RSA 91A32 A, B, C, L, J, K, and all we got is one thing. Little block.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All?
Second,
Is that Peg?
yes.
Aye.
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 Peg?
Aye.
You're adjourned.
Okay, thank you.